Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Aran from Aran Academic Planning. This is another installment of our virtual information session series in which I'm joined by admission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of options for you to consider as you go through the college search and admissions process, from liberal arts colleges to research universities, women's colleges, religiously affiliated schools, and everything in between. And today I'm joined by one of our Canadian universities and Kelly Dohei. So Kelly, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Hi, everybody. So, yes, my name's Kelly. I work for Simon Fraser University, and it is my job to help support students coming to SFU from the United States. So, if you have any questions about admission requirements, how to apply, when to apply, our programs, living on campus, anything like that, I'm a really good person to come to. So, I just want to talk a little bit about SFU today. I always love starting off with a nice statistic here. So, SFU has been ranked as the #1 comprehensive university in Canada. We've held this for 16 of the last 17 years. So, it is a ranking that we're quite proud of. And here, comprehensive is just referring to the fact that we have a little bit of everything. So, by Canadian standards, we're considered a medium-sized school. But by American standards, we are quite large. So, we have about 37,000 students total. We have over 300 undergraduate programs to choose from. So we really do have a little bit of everything. I do want to situate us. So we are in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. So this is on the west coast of Canada, sort of just above the Seattle region. I myself moved here from a different Canadian city about 6 years ago. So after I graduated, and I moved here very specifically because one, it's a beautiful city, and two, it is the best weather in Canada. So I really wanted to avoid the cold and the snow. So that is why I chose Vancouver, but Vancouver has tons to offer. It is the third largest city in Canada, so just after Toronto and Montreal. So lots of big metropolitan stuff happening, but also lots of great access to nature. So if you're into hiking or skiing or just being on the beach, there is something for everyone in Vancouver. And then situating SFU a little bit more specifically within Vancouver. So SFU has three campuses. I am actually today up on our main campus, which is our Burnaby campus. So you can see there on the map. Our Burnaby campus is where most students are based. It's also where our undergraduate housing is located. But we also do have campuses downtown Vancouver and downtown Surrey as well. And as an SFU student, you are welcome. You're actually encouraged to take classes across campuses. So if you have a desire to be in one of the other campuses, you are more than welcome to take courses there. All right, so just getting into a little bit more specifically about us. So, like I mentioned, we have three campuses. We have 8 undergraduate faculties, and then we also have lots of graduate students as well. So, students doing their master's and their PhD studies. And then we also have a School of Medicine that's very exciting. It's actually just opened up, so it's brand new there. And then we work with over 60 research institutes and centers as well. So going through a little bit more about each of our campuses. So our Burnaby campus is up on top of Burnaby Mountain. This is our oldest campus. It was established in 1965. So it's been around for quite a while. This is where I come to work every day. So I live downtown Vancouver and I drive, it's about half an hour drive up to Burnaby Mountain campus. It is really lovely up here. It really does feel like its own little city. I think that's what helps create that sort of small or medium-sized school atmosphere that we have at SFU. So if you see folks up and around on campus, they are SFU staff or faculty or students. So it's a really lovely, safe, lots of nature environment. We also have our Surrey campus. This one is going to be a much more urban campus. So this one's located downtown Surrey. It is our high-tech campus. So it is home to a couple very specific programs. So our Sustainable Energy Engineering program, our Mechatronic Systems Engineering program, as well as our School of Interactive Arts and Design. So all of those sort of high-tech, tech-focused programs are based at Surrey. This is also where our new medical school is based. Our Vancouver campus is also very much an urban campus. So it is right in downtown Vancouver in the Gastown area, which is one of the oldest and prettiest areas in Vancouver. And this one was established in 1989, and it is also specifically for a program. So if you are studying in our School for the Contemporary Arts, so anything fine arts based like music or dance or theater, you will be based right downtown Vancouver. As I mentioned, we have over 300 undergraduate programs to choose from, so 368 as of this year to be exact. And these are spread across 8 faculties. So you can really see here we have a bit of everything. I always say our biggest faculty is going to be arts and social sciences. So those are your liberal arts, humanities courses. We are a big sociology and psychology school. Those are two of our most popular and sort of highly regarded programs. We're also a pretty big science school at SFU, so you can see half of our faculties are devoted to different types of sciences. So lots of pre-med students, lots of students interested in environmental science or health sciences. You can definitely do all of that here. And then, of course, we also have our applied sciences. So lots of really unique hands-on engineering programs, as well as that interactive arts and technology program I previously mentioned. And then, of course, our BD School of Business is always very much a coveted choice as well. So a couple more fun statistics to throw out. So we have just over 37,000 students from over 130 countries at SFU. We have classes taught in 12 languages. We have over 200,000 alumni who are now located in over 145 countries, and we have just over 1,000 faculty members. We have lots of different ways for you to get a bit more out of your education at SFU. So any big university is going to have student services, but I really think this is where SFU excels. So what makes us special? So we have study abroad programs. You can go to over 170 different institutions all around the world to do a semester abroad. We have over 300 student clubs to choose from. So I know oftentimes from American students, I'm asked about Greek life and kind of how do you get socializing at Canadian schools. It is a bit different. So Canadian schools are a lot more clubs based. So not so much about Greek life, more about finding a club that you're interested in or multiple clubs. You're really welcome to join as many as you'd like. So that's a great way to make friends. Then the thing I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is cooperative education. So if you haven't heard what cooperative education is, I essentially like to explain it as a paid internship. So once you are a current SFU student, you've kind of had a chance to settle in. If you're interested in seeking out a co-op work term, you can go and talk to our dedicated co-op advisor team, and they'll be able to help you with writing your resume, applying for jobs, preparing for your interviews, all of those good things. And co-op work terms are available in all programs from all faculties. So there's this misconception that it's only for business students, and I want to assure you that's absolutely not true. So all programs, all faculties, if you are interested in applying and completing a work term, you are definitely encouraged to do that. It's very popular to do a co-op work term. About 1 in 3 SFU students will decide to participate in co-op. And you can do your co-op anywhere. So we work with lots of big names within Canada. So you can do your co-op locally. You could go across and be in maybe Montreal or Toronto, but you can also work at a company overseas or in the US. I know Silicon Valley is a really coveted spot for places for students who want to be in the kind of tech field. So you are welcome to go anywhere with your co-op. And the great thing about co-op work terms are that they are paid. So that's something that's really, really nice, and it differs a bit from an unpaid internship. So I do want to just touch on some student supports. So like I said, we really do feel like our own little city up here. So there's just about everything you could imagine that you might need as a student available to you. So I do like to highlight just a couple of them. So academic advisors are those folks who will work similar to your high school counselors or your educational consultants who are there to help you with navigating the process of making sure that you're getting the courses you need. So that course enrollment process, helping you plan your degree, making sure you're graduating when you want to graduate. But we also have all sorts of support. So we have a multi-faith center. We have our Center for Accessible Learning. If you need any sort of accommodation, whether like physical or mental or anything like that, something comes up. We also have career and volunteer services if you want to try to get a part-time job when you are a student at SFU. We also have things like Learning Commons where you can go for free tutoring support. So we have this great program where graduate students will actually help you looking over your presentations and your different assignments that you have to make sure that you're getting the best possible grades. And the last one I like to mention is our health and counseling. So we do offer free mental health as well as physical health and counseling support to students at SFU. So this includes things like a 24-hour helpline. It also includes really fun initiatives like puppy therapy. So during stressful exam periods, health and counseling will bring in groups of very well-behaved, lovely dogs to kind of help with the stress of exams and midterms. So lots of student supports available. I also want to mention sort of two big factors before we get into admission requirements. So the first one is going to be all about living on campus. So we do offer guaranteed on-campus housing for all first-year students. The great thing about that is that you are living right in it. So it's a great way to make friends. Only about 10% of SFU students do live on campus. So you're part of a much smaller community, about 1,200 students or so. So there's three sort of big apartment buildings that first year students live in. The first year student rooms are lovely. So all rooms at SFU are private rooms. So nobody ever has to share a room with a roommate. So we always have your own private sleeping and studying space. You get access to our 24/7 all you care to eat dining commons, which is lovely. I go there often for lunch. It's actually quite nice. They have an ice cream machine, really good food as far as on-campus food goes. And then you just really have the support of living on campus and making those friends a little bit easier. We also do offer campus tours. I know that we are coming from all across the states, so we may or may not be located near Vancouver. If you are near or you're just deciding to come for a visit, you're always welcome to sign up for a campus tour. If you're not able to come, I do highly recommend you attend a virtual campus tour. So they're actually hosted by a group of current co-op students who are doing a work placement with our team for 8 months. So it's a really great way to learn what it's like to be a student from current students. We also do have a self-guided campus tour as well, so you can kind of just navigate it yourself, get a sense of what the campus looks like. All right, I do want to touch on financial planning as well, just in terms of the associated costs with SFU, and then as well as some scholarship opportunities. It is quite different coming to a Canadian school, in particular with SFU as well. So I can only speak to SFU, but from SFU's perspective, it's not like you're given a package when you are admitted. So it's kind of up to you as the student to seek out different financial aid opportunities that are available to you. So those could be scholarships, which are mostly academic based. It could also be things like awards, which are more community involvement, volunteer based, and then bursaries, which are based mostly on financial need. And each financial aid opportunity has its own set of eligibility criteria, as well as some of them you have to apply for, some of them you don't have to apply for. So it's really up to you as the student to explore those different opportunities and then reach out to an reach out to a financial aid advisor if you have any questions or need any assistance with navigating the process. So let's just get into a sense of what fees and tuition cost here. So this is for one full year. So at SFU, we are on a trimester system. So that means 3 equal terms, 4 months for each term. The very traditional way of structuring your year at SFU is to do 5 courses in the fall term, so from September until the end of December, and then 5 courses in the spring term, which is for us the beginning of January until the end of April, and then taking that summer term off. So you have May until the end of August to take a break. Maybe you want to visit your family. Maybe you want to do some sort of co-op opportunity or go and study abroad or just work. Whatever it is you'd like to do, you have that summer to do. So that's what this is based on. If you were to repeat this 4 times, that would be your degree. And all of these prices are in Canadian dollars as well. So I always love talking to students coming to us from the US because it makes it a lot more affordable because the US dollar is really, really strong right now, which is lovely. All right, I want to mention our two big scholarship opportunities. So this first one you actually do need to apply for. We call this one USIS for short. So for this one, you need to apply when you are a senior. So in grade 12 between October 1st and December 15th, when you're applying for the following year. This one is an academic-based scholarship, so looking for students who have high grades. So sort of A minuses and A's is a good spot to be. And this is a very generous scholarship, so it usually will cover the entire cost of your tuition, or at minimum, starts at $60,000. So at minimum, at least a whole year, which is great. And then we also have our International Excellence Entrance Scholarship, or IEES. For this one, it's a one-time payment of $10,000, and you actually don't have to apply for it. So it's also an academic-based scholarship as long as your grades are sort of meeting that threshold. So again, normally students with grades in the A's, maybe a few A minuses, you'll just be notified by email and we'll say congratulations. So this is a nice thing to be aware of as well. All right, so lastly, I want to talk a little bit about admission requirements, as well as the application process, because it is a little bit different. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. It is quite different compared to applying to schools in the US. So general admission requirements, these are ones that all students, regardless of which program or faculty they are applying to, need to meet. So you always have to graduate with your high school diploma. You need to have a minimum of 3 senior level academic courses. So by senior level, this means a full year of whatever academic course that is. So I know we're often asked about science courses because they're structured a bit differently in the States than they are in Canada. So in Canada, students will take biology grade 10, biology grade 11, and biology grade 12. Whereas in the States, I know that you would take a full year of biology and then maybe the following year you might take a full year of physics. So when you're thinking about meeting a senior level, it is okay if you've taken biology not in your senior year, but you're trying to fulfill a senior level science, for example. If you ever have any questions about if you're meeting the course requirements, you're always welcome to email me. My email will be the last slide here, so just in a couple slides. But getting back to our admission requirements, you'll always have to meet our English language requirements. You need to make sure you've taken a senior level English course. And then you always will need to meet our quantitative and analytical skills requirement. So for US students, this is a minimum of Algebra 2. If you are applying to anything that's science or math-based or engineering-based, you need to make sure you have at minimum pre-calculus. All right, so program-specific course requirements, these are the ones that will vary depending on which program you are applying to at SFU. So like I mentioned already, if you're applying to something that's science or math-based, you will need pre-calculus, for example. But we do have all of these outlined right on our website. So there's a little tab that says USA admission requirements, and it'll outline it for you there. It is important to note that we are test optional, so we made that change 3 years ago now. So SAT and ACT exam scores, not required at all. AP courses are also optional for us. So I get asked about this all the time. We do not require you to have completed AP courses. We also don't require you to have completed college level courses. If you have completed AP courses or college level courses, that's great. The benefit to you is that you will get transfer credit for those courses, or you're likely to, depending on the course and the grade you've achieved. So for AP courses, you need to complete the course as well as the AP exam and have a minimum score of 4 or 5. And then we have this big conversion table online that will let you know exactly which transfer course you will receive transfer credit for. In terms of grade range, this is another thing that's a bit different about Canadian schools. We tend to talk in percentages. So our grade range does vary based on which program a student is applying to. So for anything that's arts-based, so those humanities, kind of liberal arts courses, those are our least competitive courses least competitive programs to be admitted to. So high school grades in the low 80s range, so sort of B's and B pluses is a good spot to be. And then it gets more competitive from there. So on our most competitive level, you have things like engineering science. For those, you really do need to have sort of A minuses and up as your grades. One thing that's really important to note here, and it's talking about more than grades required. So this is the biggest difference when you are applying to SFU versus applying to American schools. SFU is a grades-based institution. This is not uncommon in Canada. It's actually what most Canadian universities are. So what this means is that we are just looking at your high school grades. We don't require things like extracurriculars, reference letters, SAT requirements, volunteer work, any of that. It is just submitting your high school grades to us. So it is a very straightforward application. And this is true for the vast majority of our programs. So all programs except for two. Those two programs are the BD School of Business. They require a supplemental application. So what that is a little bit of a personal statement. So you have to respond to 2 questions and let them know a little bit more about you, as well as provide 2 reference letters. And then School for the Contemporary Arts, there is a supplemental application for those programs as well. What it is will vary based on which specific fine arts program you're applying to. It could be an audition, a portfolio, an interview, questionnaire, those sorts of things. But for all other programs, it is just your high school transcript that you're uploading for us. All right, last slide here is just talking about the process. So this slide is relevant for you when you are in your senior year, or if you're kind of getting ready and prepared, that's great. You're thinking about it ahead of time. So you can apply as early as October 1st, and you can apply until January 31st. So that's the important deadline to keep in mind. December 15th, as I mentioned, is the scholarship deadline if you are applying to that USIS or the Undergraduate Entrance Scholars Scholarship. There we go. But everybody else, January 31st. In terms of submitting your high school transcript test, that is going to be due by February 28th. So I always like to say it's a 2-step application process. The first step is submitting your application on this website that is called the Education Planner BC. You can think of it similar to the Common App. So you submit your application there. That only takes about 5 or 10 minutes. And then you'll be emailed from us with your SFU ID number and instructions for logging into your Student Center account. So you'll log into your Student Center account, and there you will find your to-do list, and it will ask you to upload your high school transcript. You just upload that yourself, and you have until February 28th to do that. In terms of when you'll hear back from us, we do give out offers of admission on a rolling basis. So students will hear back as early as November if they're really competitive students and they have really high grades, we want to get them. So as early as November up until April is when you'll hear back from us. I will say most students are going to hear back sometime between January and April. And then you have until May 1st to decide where you'd like to go to school. So I think that's a pretty standard deadline. So May 1st is the confirmation deadline. That is when you have to accept your offer and pay your confirmation deposit in order to confirm your spot in your program. And then we get you ready with all sorts of things, academic advisors, course enrollment. We have our International Services for Students team to help you with the study permit process. All of those things come together over the summer, and then you'll begin that first week of September. All right, so my final slide here is my email. So please feel free to reach out anytime. I am the person who assists with all students coming from the States. I've been in my role for a few years now, and I'm really more than happy to connect any way I can. So via email or via Zoom, whatever best suits you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kelly. There's a lot of great information. So I guess first off, I guess the last thing I saw was about kind of the typical timeline, right? So
Mhm.
there's just one type of application. There's no early decision, early action, restrictive early action, regular. It's just one
It's just
application
one
total.
application. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody applies between October 1st and January 31st of their grade 12 year. But the earlier you apply and the higher your grades are, the more likely you are to hear back
hmm
earlier.
Okay. And then you mentioned also that there are specific program specific requirements
Mhm.
from emission standards, right? So we don't need to get into those, but I was just wondering, what are those popular majors or schools at which applicants are choosing year after year?
Ooh, good question. I would say on the social science side of things, definitely psychology and criminology. Those are huge at SFU. We have a whole faculty of environment, which is very unique. So we have a lot of students interested in like water science, environmental science, those sorts of programs. And then we have lots of science students. So lots of biomedical physiology. We have a huge kinesiology program, behavioral neuroscience, lots of kind of pre-med students. And then engineering students, engineering science. We have mechatronic systems engineering and sustainable energy engineering, which are quite unique programs. So I would say those are sort of our top 10 or so.
Okay, thank you. The last couple of questions I have is more related to, I guess, campus life in Vancouver in general, right?
Mhm.
So you mentioned, I'm not sure what the exact number was, but the percentage of students living on campus is small, right? Just because of the size of the school. So I was
Mhm.
wondering, for those students that aren't living on campus, how do they ensure they get the most out of that traditional college experience with involvement and not just kind of commuting to classes and going back and forth? Can you kind of speak upon that experience for those folks?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you'll be in good company if you choose that, you'd rather live off campus, maybe live with some friends, something like that. I would say get involved in clubs. This is the number one thing that you can do to really get the most out of your experience. A lot of students will be a part of two, three, four clubs. There's no limit. And it's not that they're especially like choosy with who is able to be in clubs. So they really are open for everybody. There's a niche club for just about everything. Like there's a robot soccer club, there's a tea drinking club, there's a Taylor Swift club, there's a rock climbing club. Like some are academic, some are athletic, some are more like social justice based, some are more pop culture based. There really is a club for everything. So I would say
Okay.
do that and then also participate in the school events. So there's all sorts of different events that happen. I'm looking out at our main sort of, we call it Convocation Mall, but there's fire pits there and there's students. That's where things like club stays happens. It's where a week of welcome happens, winter warm-up events. So all these sorts of fun events. Don't be afraid to go and attend those.
Okay. And then finally, in terms of, we kind of alluded to it briefly at the beginning, just your location, right? Being in Vancouver. So
Mhm.
it's y'all and UBC are the two main universities in Vancouver proper, right?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
was wondering, how do y'all interact with them in terms of, I guess, making the most location? Do you have SFU students doing research at UBC and back and forth? Like, how does, because here in the States, it's depending on where these schools are located, they oftentimes have like consortiums in which they can kind of take classes with similar schools or do research and kind of cross, I guess, pollinate, for lack of a better term, in that sense with those places. Do you all have anything similar for UBC and I guess maybe any other institutions in the greater Vancouver area?
Yeah, great question. I actually don't know too much about that. I would imagine that with all those different research institutions or research institutes, that those are being shared back and forth
Hmm.
because you're right, UBC is also a mammoth. I think they have over 45,000 students. So we are definitely the big two in the kind of, we call it the lower mainland area. I don't know too specifically in terms of agreements back and forth. Um, yeah, I don't want to say something and then I
Yeah.
haven't actually been asked that before, but
Okay.
I would imagine that yes. We just for context to kind of give you a sense, UBC is west of downtown Vancouver and we're east of downtown Vancouver.
Okay.
So we're kind of in opposite directions with downtown in the middle.
Okay, gotcha. And then one final question. You showed just the sheer number of alumni
Mhm,
across, or just a number of alumni as well as how many countries in which they're based. So
mhm.
what specifically can, I guess, current SFU students do to engage with those alumni throughout their entire time on campus as an
Yeah.
undergraduate, and then I guess later a graduate student,
Yeah,
perhaps?
absolutely. So that is a whole separate team. So we have an alumni relations team. They put on events. They have all sorts of different like Facebook groups and online ways to network and get involved. So that's absolutely something that they should do, that students should do. We also have career and volunteer services that coordinates with alumni as well. So something that's a bit special at SFU is that SFU students can access career and volunteer services for up to 2 years after they graduate. So even if you've graduated and you're looking for a job or just to network and connect, so absolutely, there's lots of avenues to get to know those alumni.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, as you can see on the screen here, this is Kelly's information, and you work with all students from the US, correct?
Yes, it is just
Okay.
me. I'm your US girl. Mhm.
Okay, sounds good. So, on behalf of Kelly and myself, thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you.